Sales, but not real estate.
Okay, well, if you have a sales background, that's great. Are you on teams or are you solo? Are you on Dia team? Oh, okay. I don't know why I have to teach you guys. She should. It's her team. I don't like that's great. You can tell Dia I said that. Teams or are you solo? All right. So do I have to pull up? Let me pull up the multiple really quick. Where is my? Why isn't my mouse? There we go. But I'm definitely tech challenged until I know exactly how to do it. Okay, I'm just pulling up Matrix so people. So all of you that are brand new, you can actually listen in to this if you can't make it. You have a sign up somewhere. I don't know where.
No, I just posted on Facebook and all that.
Oh, okay. All right.
You'll see it live. And I posted on Facebook, and the link is actually.
Okay.
To be here in person.
Yeah. All right. So this is your contract class. First of all, for the brand new, first time agents, do you know where you can look up and actually see videos of me talking about contracts? Okay. If you go to your Keller Williams homepage, and once you log in, look at the top, and okay, because it sounds like I'm repeating. If you go to the top, there'll be an education bar. Click on the education bar, scroll down to where it will say KW Connect. Click on KW Connect. Once that opens up in the search bar, type KWRE, and then that will pull up about 4 pages, and they're videos. Each one is a video of whatever the form is, and I've made videos of the main forms you're going to use the most that you can watch the videos. They can be 2 minutes to 5 minutes each, but I actually walk you through the whole video, explaining what it all means and how to fill it out. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, they'll have Michael Holland's name on it as uploading it, but it's really me talking, not Michael. Yeah, but I would recommend watching all of them because it will get you up to speed with contracts faster than anything else will. Okay? And then also you can watch those, listen to them, take notes because I'm not expecting you to understand everything in the contract. And then in this class, you can start asking questions and say, you know, Eric, on 22A, it's just not making any sense to me, this. You know, and we can talk about it. The class is also, hopefully we have some agents coming in with contract questions because they've had situations or whatever, so we can learn from each other that way, okay? So, who would like to start? Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's freaking out because there were changes in February. Just get used to it. It happens about once a year. The forms will change. When forms change, it's usually because we're all being like in the Wild West, writing up our own information on Form 34s, and it's a common thing happening. So they're going to make a new form for it to address it. Or there's been a lawsuit about something, and they realize they need clearer language or something around it, and they'll change the actual forms. So, the quickest way to learn all the new forms, 1, you can watch my videos. 2, on your home page, when you open up Northwest MLS, scroll down on the left side and you'll get to where it will say legal bulletins. Yeah, so you go under statewide forms. Where is legal bulletin?
No, we don't have to go there.
Yeah, I'm there. But I'm in Matrix right now. I got to go back. Yeah, it's on the home page. But at the first page that opens up before you go to Matrix, you go down there and it'll say Legal Bulletin 209. It's on the left of the page. Click on Legal Bulletin 209. Then underneath, when it opens, go in there where it says sample forms, click on that. And then right there in front of you, as you scroll down, is every single form they've changed and every single form that's brand new. And what's really cool, if you open up like I'm going to open form 50 here. It's if it says red line, that means it's a form that's just been changed. So always click on the red line, and you can actually look at the form then, and it will show you what they added and what they crossed out. So then you know, here's what I really need to know what's changed on that old form that I've been using. So that's really good. Because here's the fun part. Once the forms are changed, you are held responsible to know them. We're in a business that when you write a contract, it doesn't work if you say afterwards, well, I'm brand new, I just didn't know that. That's not going to fly with your client. They're looking to you that you do know that. Or if you don't know the answers, you're asking the right people to get the right answers for them. When I started as a new agent and I was all nervous about writing my first couple of contracts, I was sweating bullets. You know, it's normal. You're all going to do it. But when my client said, well, what's this mean? You know, sometimes I didn't know the answers. Never lie to your clients because it will make you look worse than if you say to them honestly, you know, that's a really good question. And honestly, I'm not going to just give you an answer to give you an answer. I want to research that more because I have a lot of assets back in the office. There's 300 plus experienced agents. I have a broker. Let me get an answer from someone who's a little more experienced beyond that because I want to know that also. So next time I know what to say. You know, they're going to look at you with more respect than if you just give some BS answer. That's wrong. Because you always want to give your client the best advice. All right? So don't be afraid to say that to a client. I don't know. I, even to this day, still say that to clients. Because this business, you're always learning and changing and adapting. And there'll always be something new to throw at you where you're going to go, I've never done that one, never been asked that one. But I just go, hey, let me research it a little bit and I'll get back to you because I want to talk to some people who are more experienced in that area to make sure we get you the right answer. Okay? So does that answer your question, where the forms are to learn?
I understand the.
Oh, you wanted everyone else to know.
No, I want to give it.
Oh, well, no, all the top key changes is every single form, not just top 5. Every single form there. And there's quite a few brand new forms, you guys, you better read. Because the brand new forms have never existed and they're there to help you. So when you're reading them, if you don't know them, let me know. Because I've talked a little bit about them at the team meetings, but I'm not going to be able to tell you every single form. Because other things pop up that I got to talk to you about. Okay. You have a question? No, I'm looking at you. Yeah. I haven't seen you here in a while, so I figure you have questions. KWLS. Okay. Question: how do you get it? You have a listing; it's all signed. You know how to put it on the MLS, is what you're saying.
No.
You don't know how to do it. Is this your first listing?
Yeah, well, I was with the team.
And they did it all.
Yeah.
And then they threw you to the wolves when you quit and said, "Good luck."
Well, they didn't say good luck.
Okay. I've been on both sides of that coin. People leaving my team and being a new agent, knowing what the hell. Okay, so when are you putting this listing on the market? Oh, so you have time. Okay. There's a lot of steps you need to do between now. You have the listing agreement. Now you're going to have to make a listing input sheet with them. Okay, and you've already wrote all your remarks and everything.
Yeah.
So you got everything approved. Okay, then have you opened a transaction desk or figured out a dot loop? Okay. Well, it's not about scanning them. It's about getting. Okay, so you hand wrote your lip sheet?
I did everything I could.
Oh, okay. You didn't set it up in transaction desk or dot loop to save you future time? because now every time you go in and do a new form, you're going to have to start over from scratch. Did you know if in .loop, if you learn .loop or transaction desk, they both have the capability. You plug in like buyer information, seller information. You're typing all those things, so it'll start auto-filling for you. But it's all set in there. So let's say you got another form you need to pop up later, it'll autofill a lot of things for you because you set it up.
Okay.
Or you can do your route, pull up the form, fill it all out, print it, fill in whatever rest, sign it. But let's say you did all that, and now they look at it and they say, I don't like these remarks, you forgot this, I don't want that, and now you have to go back and change it. You're going to have to start over with a whole brand new form from scratch because you don't have it set up in .loop or transaction desk where you could pull up the form where you had it, make the corrections only, save it, and now it's all ready to go again. So you want to learn transaction desk or .loop to do your forms. And it's also, and they both will store them. So it's a good storage facility because you have to have everything stored, everything you do with your clients. .loop will save your files for 7 years because we have to keep them for 7 years. Yes, question real quick. Where do you find .loop? Are you on .loop? All right, if you're not on .loop, Ravi, how do they get signed up? Because you can't, if you go to .loop and just sign up on .loop, you're not going to be within the Office .loop. You have to sign up through the Office .loop.
Yeah. So this missing link.
You will know you're not in our .loop world within this office when it comes time to submit for review. You all have to learn .loop. If you're on a team, they may do it for you though. But if you're not and you're a solo agent, you have to learn .loop. There is a video where I have contract videos where it just talks to you loosely about how we want you to set up the files in .loop. And it explains how you can submit the files to be reviewed by Greg Gibbs to make sure everything's compliant for DOL. So if you use Transaction Desk, you can, but when you get your final things, you need to dump them into your .loop file because that's where we store everything for you for 7 years. They will not talk to each other. Well, here's what some agents do. Some agents go in, they learn .loop, and they'll set everything up in there. They'll do their signings back and forth in there. The advantage of that, you've got everything in that file. So if ever you get in an issue and DOL comes in and says there's an official complaint, first thing they're going to do is say, we want everything in your file. We want any important emails, texts, messages, anything that supports what this complaint's about. And you're expected to have all that. So if you're like, here's when it was signed, here's when I sent it out, here's when it came back signed. It's showing you timelines and everything. Otherwise, you're going to have to go into Transaction Desk and find that information there. Also, make PDFs, dump in your .loop, and then we make one big PDF and we send it off to DOL. It's your preference. I'm old school. I was trained in MLS long before I got into .loop. I have an admin, so don't ask me how to do .loop. Because once you get admin, you become you just become brain dead. You're just like, they'll take care of it. I know transaction desk, what I know. I use transaction desk. And then I send her all the final documents and she puts them in a .loop for storage and review. Yeah, I mean, we would prefer you get to know .loop because that's something we provide for you and it's yours to use. So if you go in and you're brand new, I would say learn .loop first before transaction desk because you'll be a lot better off if you do. So anyway, back to you.
Another question about .loop. I was
All that should be syncing like that, shouldn't it, Ravi?
Yeah. So was that the first time you just
Okay.
I was self-teaching myself. So.
Okay.
I've not run into that. But...
He can look into it. That's why he's tech ambassador and I'm not. Yeah. So let's go back though. Now what do? Okay, first, before we start figuring all the paperwork out, you want to know your list date. Then you want to count back from your list date. There have been rule changes on signposts. There will be an email going out if you haven't noticed. There's no more call your sign company that's going to post your sign and say put it up tomorrow in front of my listing. So this is your first listing. You need to get a for sale sign made. So have you had one made? Okay. Okay, now are they holding it and they'll do your install and take out? Okay, that's great. So you're going to have to call them and say, I want my sign posted on this day in front of this house. You cannot post now, if you're the type who keeps your for sale signs, you have the signpost in and then you're going to go and strap it on. That's fine. But if like you have the sign with the signpost company. So the day they post that signpost, they're going to put your for sale sign on it. You cannot put your for sale sign on a signpost until you list that day on the MLS. So if your signpost goes up on a Thursday, you better be on that MLS that morning. Because if you're not, and agents start driving by and say, hey, there's this for sale sign and it's not on the MLS, and they tell the MLS, they're going to investigate and you will get busted for pre-marketing a listing, which you're not allowed to do. Question? No, no, no. No one ever do coming soon. Now you're going to be on Zillow and you're going to see coming soon. But you better research it because the listings you're seeing coming soon are probably in a different state. And they're not the Northwest MLS. Because the MLS is very clear, no pre-marketing. So if you go on Zillow and post coming soon, trust me, they police Zillow. And you know who the biggest policemen are out there? Other agents. Because we can turn anyone in anonymously and MLS will investigate. And you know what? We've had some agents here get busted. You might be lucky. They used to give hand slaps the first time. Very few hand slaps now. And I've had agents go from $3,000 to $1,000 penalties they had to pay. And when those fines are done, we, the brokerage, have to pay it. And then guess what? We look at you and say, give us your credit card right now or a check, because we don't wait on it. You have to pay it right now. So no, no, no to pre-marketing anything or coming soon, especially on Facebook. Agents get busted on Facebook saying, hey, I got a great listing coming up next week on Willow Street, 123. It's going to be at this. I can't wait. It's my first listing. Guess what? You just pre-marketed the listing. You are busted if they see it. So no pre-marketing.
But as long as they don't location or
all right, now we're talking gray area. Be very careful what you say. You can't say price. You can't say address. That's all pre-marketing. I'm okay if you're at the team meeting and you say, hey, hi everybody, I'm going to have a listing coming next week. It's going to be in Hollywood Hills area or wherever. It's going to be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Oh, really? Well, how much? Well, we're not quite sure yet, but it'll be maybe around 800. That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. But you cannot give them an address. The MLS rules are very clear. All agents have to have an equal advantage to bring a buyer to a property. That's why we cannot pre-market.
You couldn't show like the house.
No. If you show a picture of the house, you just pre-market it because now they can drive down that street and find that house.
Say, like you said, I have something coming up in 1 year.
Just show no pictures, period. No pictures. Okay? Yes.
So you talked about Zillow.
Okay, I'll tell you this right now. If an agent signed a listing agreement with you and you're telling your agent, well, you can pre-market, you will still get in trouble because this is a real fine line you're doing. Do not advise your client to pre-market. And quite honestly, it's not to their advantage.
No, it's just
The advantage is to be brand spanking new, all ready to go, accept offers, and in this market, the feeding frenzy begins. You know, if you're pre-marketing something for 2 weeks, you're old news when you come on. You don't want to be old news. You know, don't be the foolish agent. And I've seen agents do this, and I'm like, are you an idiot or what? They'll put on a lockbox, they'll put it on the MLS, and then they'll say, well, we put you on the MLS, but the key won't be in the lockbox for a week. Okay, so guess what? In a week, we've all are driven by, we already know the neighborhood, none of us are really interested. I have no idea what the intention of an agent is to put a lockbox but not put a key in for a week. I think that's plain stupidity. And I said it's stupid. They must have their reasons. I don't know. I'm open to hear it, but I'm still going to probably say I think it's stupid. But I'm open. I can be convinced otherwise. So you need to figure out first when you're going to put in your on your for sale sign, okay? With the new rules, all the sign companies have been contacted by utility companies, and there is a law that they have to alert the utility companies 48 hours before that signpost goes in so that they can drive by and make sure where you want to put the signpost in is not on top of a utility line. And the only way they're going to know that is you have to go out, or if the signpost company might do it for you, but they'll charge you. You or them have to go out before the call is to the utility company and put a tiny white flag in the ground exactly where you want the signpost in. This is standard policy going forward now. It's just, they're cracking down. I got a listing that's coming on next Thursday. My admin was running out today to put the white flag in, and she called the signpost company because we wanted to make sure they had plenty of time to get their approval. And if you don't do that, you could be subject to a $5,000 fine. Okay?
I missed that part.
No,
You
no.
already.
There will be an email going out for me tomorrow. We went out downtown today, but Larissa's not here to set it all up. She'll be probably back tomorrow. Explaining all this to you guys. So read the email and then you can ask questions. Okay? So you want to make sure you know when your signpost is going to go in. Now, you got to get photography going. So you got to schedule that. Well, before you do photography, you got to ask yourself, do I need to stage this house? Do they need a stager to come in and tell them how to stage this house? Or is their house pretty together? You have to become an expert and know how to advise your client how that house needs to look. And usually when I have a listing, I'll walk them around the house and I'll tell them things I will notice. But I'll also say I have a stager who's going to come here and she's going to walk you around and she's just going to be really direct, but she's going to tell you this goes, this stays, paint this, do this, because she's going to see a lot of things I won't see because that's her job. And then I'll say to them, once that's done, your job is to get the house ready now. I'm not offering to go in there and move their furniture. That's their responsibility. But you can offer to do that as a service if you're starting out and you have the time. I don't have that time, and I don't want to mess with my back. So you got to figure that now, because you've got about 3 weeks out. It sounds like. Yeah. So you have time to get the staging down. Sometimes clients will say, "Well, where am I going to put all this stuff?" Well, they can pack as much as they want in a garage. No one's going to shoot the interior of the garage. As long as they have access in the garage for an inspector to get to an electric box, water heater, or furnace. You don't want to block those so they can't be touched on an inspection. They can stack as much as they want in there. I explain to clients, well, actually, this is great for you because it's like you're doing early packing. talk to moving companies. You can talk to Apex. I think Apex still offers an amazing deal, $399 pre-staging package is what they call it. They'll do it for Keller Williams agent clients, but you better talk to the rep first so he knows your name. Then they can call Apex, mention your name, and they can schedule for Apex to come out and schedule a time for them to actually pick up all the stuff they wanted out of the house and store it for 2 months for $399. And it's a professional movers insured and everything. That's a great deal from Apex. So anyway, you got to figure your staging. You want it all done before you go in and do your photos. You got to decide who's your photographer. I would not use any photographer who does not use high def technology, because they come in, they can shoot the same shot, they'll shoot it like 6 times in a row, each one a little bit different. They'll merge them all into one, and it looks like every room is lit perfect. It was shot on a sunny day. They can add in a blue sky even if it's raining. If you're an agent who thinks you're going to do it on your own, don't. Because when you go out on that listing, you're competing with the guys who do this all the time, me being one. We all use high def photography, and we're all using wide angle lenses to make the littlest room look spacious. The reason you're staging, you explain to your clients, is one, we don't want a buyer to come in and see your house cluttered, because buyers never look past clutter. They'll look at the house and go, oh my God, I don't even feel comfortable walking through here. Look at all this. Oh my God, that kitchen, stacks of dirty dishes. They're going to talk about that rather than what kind of appliances you have. The whole idea of staging is they want enough furniture in there and an idea to present to a buyer how furniture can work, so they start thinking how their stuff will work, and they're not looking at photos and trying to figure out who the seller is. Because the first thing the stage will say is, we're going to take all your photos down that are of you. We're going to put just generic whatever photos around. So staging is really important. And your most important thing in marketing your house is the photos, because where's everybody looking? Online. Are they going to stop when they see an empty room? They go click, empty room, click, click, click. It's just 2 walls and carpet or wood floors. But if there's furniture, it kind of slows them down, draws them in, and they'll think, wow, look at all that furniture in this room. It looks pretty spacious. Maybe we go check it out. So that's what you want to get lined up now. Get your staging so you know when you're going to do your photography, and then you know your list date, because you know when you can alert the sign company. You've got to line all that up. Next, the reason I like Transaction Desk is when you plug everything in Transaction Desk, there's a button you can press, and they have Transaction Desk videos you just watch. It will load everything directly into the MLS off of what you typed in on your lip sheet. In .loop, I don't think it does that. You have to manually go into MLS and load it yourself, type it all in. That's the one thing that they don't communicate. So that's why I like Transaction Desk. Loading it up in there, though, doesn't mean it's live. It's just setting it all up, gives you an MLS number, so now you know you can go out, you can make flyers, put your MLS number. So you're now, what you should be doing also, time out that you get the photos in time, so you now have time to get flyers ready, plan out all your advertising so it's all in place, ready to go. Okay? And that's why you go into MLS and preload everything so you have an MLS number so you can have it on everything. Now, here's the big question. KWLS and Northwest MLS, how do they communicate? Here's the greatest thing about Keller Williams. Well, not the greatest, just one of many great things. Okay? KWLS will propagate you out to like 500 websites. If you go with, I think it's KPS is the luxury, not luxury, but it's global marketing. If you pay GPS, yeah, GPS. If you pay them, I think it's $65 a month, then you can also get into GPS. And GPS loads you up on like another 100 websites, but these 100 websites are global websites where your listings translated into all these different languages depending on the person, and it's dumping them in the hubs where people in China look, people in Europe look, people look in, let's say, Dubai or wherever. When I'm out on a listing appointment, it's worth to me to pay $65 a month So part of my listing presentation is mentioning how I'm also doing this global marketing on top of getting them to the 500 websites. It's a decision you have to make. I mean, as new agents, you can't pay for everything. Don't kill yourself if you don't do it, because honestly, I think it's at this point, how many people have they ever found that came in and bought my listing through GPS global marketing? None. But it's a nice thing to say out there. You know why? Because we do have people from all over the globe buying in our area like crazy. There's a global audience now that buys all around the world. Wherever they see is a good place to park their money at the time. We're a good place to park. U.S. is also a good place to park when it's right for them, because our government's pretty stable and they feel more secure in their investment than, say, a company that, or a country that could be volatile and could change at any moment. They might lose their investment. Anyway, I talk a lot. So, back to it. What you need to do is you need to load up in KWLS all your photos, all your information, everything like you do in the MLS. You want to get that all loaded in KWS the night before you go on the MLS. Because KWS, about 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning, the night before, will start propagating you out on Zillow, Trulia, all these websites. We have, because of our clout, a contract with Zillow and Trulia that if we, through KWS, put it on the website, then Zillow cannot advertise on it. So when you go in Zillow and you type an address and then here's the listing and all, but there's all these contact these agents on the side, those agents are paying to be there.
Yeah.
If you do through KWLS, your listing, they place it on Zillow, none of those will ever be there. The only person there that on the side to contact is you, the listing agent. So you get the leads from Zillow of people wanting to know about the property, not another agent. That's what we offer at KWLS. So they're doing all this in the night. Here's the catch. You got to list it that next morning live on the MLS, and I would have it live no later than 10 a.m. Because if you list in the afternoon, you're going to be popped up on Zillow and everybody else. Agents are going to look at it, and they're going to report to MLS, hey, we can't find you on the MLS. Here's a photo of it on Zillow, and then you're pre-marketing. So you got to watch your timeline. So if you're on the MLS the next morning by 10 a.m., you're good. Now the MLS will start pinging out there all these websites like Zillow. And when it pings, it will see, oh, you're already listed, and it goes back. Now if you do the reverse, and let's say you did it in Northwest MLS, and then later that day you did KWS, you won't get the deal, because then KWS will look at Zillow and see, oh, Northwest MLS already loaded you up, so we're not going to change it. And now everybody's advertising on your listing. So you get it on KWS the night before, 1 or 2 a.m. they're going to propagate, and you go live on the MLS the next morning no later than 10 a.m. And then you're good. You had a question back there? Oh, okay, the overview. Okay. Now, let's see. Did that answer all your questions for your first listing you need to be thinking about?
One question.
Mm-hmm. All right. Here's how it goes. Via's different, though. I bet Via puts her sign on the post later. Yeah, she is. So you have your favorite sign company. You have a choice to make. They can make your signs, or you can have someone else make your signs. You can have control of your signs and keep them with you. I do that now. A lot of agents do. I have a lot of zip tags just like them. I go out, I zip tag it, my for sale signs up. The day of closing, I go cut them, I take it back. The reason I do it, after many years of using a sign company who kept my sign, moving it back and forth, I can tell you your sign will get beat up and trashed a lot faster with a sign company storing your, because they just throw it on there with the others. It'll start getting dings and scratches, and you'll drive out 3 listings later and you're going to look at your sign and go, that looks really crappy, you know, because I want my signs to look clean and sharp. So you can control your sign. If you are going to zip tag your own sign up the morning of the listing, which is what we do, we go out, we zip tag it, we put booties, our flyers in a flyer box, and we drop the key into the key box so everything's ready to go before 10 a.m., and then we go live. If not, and by doing that, then we're not so worried about what day. We just tell them get the signpost in the day before we list, because it's just a signpost. It's not pre-marketing. There's no name or nothing on it. But if you're going to have them control your sign with your name, you have them then put that signpost in with your sign the day you list, not the day before. Because agents who do it the day before get busted for pre-marketing.
And if you ask them,
It's still pre-marketing. If you put up a for sale sign and you're not on the MLS, you're pre-marketing. If you put the for sale sign on the same day you go list, you're not pre-marketing. It's real cut and dry. So any other questions about your first listing? I can give some tips for everyone else. Lip sheets. Everyone's like, oh my God, how to fill out a lip sheet. You want to open real quick the realist tax report. You want to go look if they had ever sold the house in the last 15 years. Look up and make a copy of that agent detail sheet. Between those two, you'll get a lot of information to plug into your listing as to what you need to. You will. And then you can figure out the other parts as to directions. I mean, a lot of times you look it up and see, oh, it sold 3 years ago. And you'll read the directions to the house and you read them. Read them, make sure they sound good because a lot of people write wrong directions. But if they're directions, then, oh, that's great, copy paste. When it comes to marketing remarks, that's the hardest part for a lot of agents because they're like, oh my God, what am I going to write to sell this property? If it's, first of all, I go, well, oh, it sold 3 years ago. Well, I'm going to copy paste all of what that was written onto a Word doc. And then I'm going to look around the area and say, what are other agents saying about houses? Copy paste maybe 2 or 3. And so now I have 4 little things on a page, and then I start reading through them and seeing the parts I like. I start combining my own and then add in the little extras that maybe they added to the house. And before you know it, you got a great 500 space or less marketing remark, and it was, you didn't have to sweat like I'm making this from scratch. Oh, we have a question?
No, it's stuck. So
I'm stuck? I'm never stuck. This is stuck.
yeah, that's stuck.
It's not working, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is it working now? More questions?
Yep. I had 2 questions. So when you have multiple options, what is the optimal? For example, if there are multiple
Mm-hmm.
that you're competing.
Okay. First of all, there's no rhyme or reason of a seller why they pick an offer. You could be the very best offer in the world, and they may not pick you. Just because you're the best offer doesn't mean they have to sell to you. They may sell to someone else because we just fell in love with that letter from that couple. They just sound so sweet. We really want them in the house. We don't care you offered us $25,000 more. We have enough money. And they might pick them. As to your question, because your question was your question was you waived appraisal, but they did not waive appraisal, and you offered $10,000 less than the other one. So isn't yours better because they shouldn't want to go through an appraisal? Yes, technically yes. But if they're smart and you were the 2 offers, I probably would come back to you and say, I'll show you this other offer. It's $10,000 more. If you match it and come up $10,000, I'll sell it to you. But I'm not going to sell it to you for $10,000 less. That's what they'll probably say.
but when you're still
Well, okay, everybody. Here's how multiple offers work on the listing agent side. When the offers all start coming in, first you have to understand, none of these offers are confidential. You can say to your seller, hey, Can I share these offers with these few agents to see if I can get these agents to come up more in price? Yes, please do. That's legal. So one, I would never send my offer in any sooner than maybe a half hour at the most before their deadline is to review offers. Because if you send in a day before, they can use that offer for anyone else calling up, asking questions and say, well, I have one offer in and my seller said it's okay to share with you what it is. They've waived all these things and they've escalated to this. So you're going to have to do better than that offer. Yes, question.
When listing agent is showing.
Mhm.
Do they have to blank out?
No, it's illegal. When you pick let's say you use the escalation clause and now it says you have to show the other offer, you cannot blank out the name of the buyer or the other agent. And people still think they can. The contract says you have to show them the entire offer. That means also the buyer and the listing agent or the buyer's agent, because they have to see it's a bona fide real offer. You know, what if you black it out and there's no names there at all? And you just fed them an offer you wrote up, which you will never do because I will like get on you so fast because you just lost your license probably to practice real estate because that's highly illegal. But I'm not saying agents haven't been busted for that. But real quick back to, I'll get to you in a minute, Jess. Okay. So we've got all these offers. Usually, a listing agent will have a spreadsheet, and they'll have the first line they're going to put in it to what's the offer, what are they offering price, did they escalate, what did they escalate to, what increments is their escalation, did they ask for closing costs, anything like that, did they waive inspection, did they waive appraisal. That's pretty much the main things. Oh, and then what kind of financing is and what's the down payment. Those are the main things they're pretty much looking at. So those are the main things you got to really zone in on and talk to your client. I mean, if you're really seriously considering a house, first thing you do is pick up a phone, talk to that listing agent, because now you have to establish as nice a relationship with them as possible before they're reviewing. That really helps because you never know how that listing agent might help you. You know, first thing I do is I call them and say, hey, I have a client that's really interested in the property. We're considering doing a pre-inspection. Can you just let me know what the playing field is? Has anyone else done pre-inspections? Or anyone else talking to pre-inspections? Or, you know, what's the feel of the land? And they'll tell you. I mean, it's not good for them to not say to you, well, no, I already have 4 pre-inspections. They'll disclose it, because then that lets you know this is going to be a lot stiffer competition than if they say, no other pre-inspections are happening right now. We're going to look at offers tomorrow if you want to get in really quick and pre-inspect. Well, that just told you, hey, we might be the only one who pre-inspected. That's a really good advantage if the others don't pre-inspect. And in this market, there's a lot of buyers who've been up to bat 3-4 times who'd like go, oh, I don't want to pay for another inspection. And they just won't pre-inspect. That doesn't mean that same buyer won't waive inspection. I've had buyers who like go, I know it's a fixer, Eric. I bought homes before. I'm not worried about anything that's going to happen here. Just waive it. We're just not going to spend the money because we know it's a fixer. I mean, you'll have buyers like that. So just because there's one, you can't assume. Or if they say there's none, and your buyer is saying, well, then if no one's doing pre-inspection, I'm not, because they're all going to ask for an inspection. You need to advise your client, well, that could be possible. We don't know, but don't assume that some of those are not waiving inspection. But the waiving inspection is the first thing we all look at, because pretty much they all do. Then we look to see, I think it's X, or with the new forms it might be, right? It might be Y. The 10-day thing. Or it's W now? Yeah, I think it's W, because it was X, but they divide the 2 paragraphs into different sections. So I think it's W now. It says you have 10 days to decide if everything you've been disclosed is okay, or they've withheld some information that you want to get out on. If they're waiving inspection, I pretty much guarantee you they're crossing out that paragraph as well on the contract. Yes.
Yeah, say you're nonetheless.
It's hard to get out on it because basically if you're trying to get out on paragraph W where it says, you have 10 days to verify, none of the information you've been disclosed is materially inaccurate. Materially inaccurate. Do you think that's a loaded gun that a lawyer loves? What is considered materially inaccurate information? Lawyers could argue for days and days and just racking up a bill on that one. They love those kind of sentences. I try to tell my client, please don't tell me you want to get out on that because that's going to be a hard one to get out on unless it's blatantly something. Like they knew that there was still a sewer, they advertised it was hooked up to a sewer line and it wasn't. It was really a septic. That's materially inaccurate information. That's pretty cut and dry. But I always tell them that's why you have a home inspection. Really learn everything you want to know about that house then, and let's get out then. So if they're doing a pre-inspect on the house, I tell them this is your chance. Even on a pre-inspection, we got to learn everything you want to know about that house. Because if you're in a multiple offer situation and you waived everything and they're going to go with you, but you didn't cross that out, trust me, they're going to come back and cross that out and say you got to initial that. But yeah, it's an out, and that's what all these listing agents are looking for in multiple offers is who has the least chance to get out of this contract. And if you are trying to make your offer as desirable as a cash offer where it's pretty much there's nothing to waive because they're just buying it on cash. They don't need to appraise it. They've waived inspection. So you're not worrying about a lender closing. You're not worrying about an appraisal because cash is cash. So that's what all these buyers are doing with lenders is trying to make their offer look like a cash offer. So we're looking for those kind of things. Appraisal. If they send you a 22A and they just crossed out paragraph 7 and they're telling their buyer, whoa, we just waived appraisal, but you're protected on the financing addendum and you're the listing agent and you're telling your client, oh, this is great, they waived appraisal. They didn't waive appraisal protection at all. All they crossed out was paragraph 7. Here's how a seller will respond to you if you say there's a low appraisal. But the paragraph right above it, if you read earnest money, it says, after a good faith effort, if the lender, excuse me, I'm talking too fast for my brain. If the loan can't be financed, then they get out and they get their earnest money back. So the loan can't be financed if you have a low appraisal, so they're going to get the money back. Doesn't matter you crossed out 7, you did not waive appraisal. So if I'm a listing agent, I get that, I'm going to throw it back to them and say, you might as well waive all of financing because you haven't waived anything here. You can throw out 22A, and then you could throw in 22AA, which is the appraisal addendum. So you could say, well, we'll waive financing, but we still want the protection of an appraisal. But those are the next two biggies that buyers are debating. Now, don't tell your client to do any waiving of anything because you know this is what you need to do without clearly explaining to them what the risk is. Because by waiving all these things, they're more and more less likely to ever get their earnest money back if they don't close on the loan. Okay? And you want to make sure all that kind of stuff is spelled out in an email so you have proof you had a conversation. Don't be the agent who has really intense conversations about really important things, and now things go bad and they say, you never told me that would happen if waived. No, I did. I talked to you, remember? No, I don't, but I'm suing you because you never did. You have to remember, if you have that kind of conversation about waiving, you follow up and say, I just want to follow up and make sure you understand that if you waive financing, the risk is you can lose your earnest money if you don't close on the loan. I strongly suggest you talk to your lender to make sure they're on board too with you waiving financing. I just protected myself. Okay? Always remember this. Your favorite words. Always. 1, to the best of my knowledge. If you put that in an email when you're advising, you're saying, to the best of my knowledge, I think you'll get your earnest money back if we walk on this. But I can never guarantee because I'm not a lawyer and I don't know how a lawyer would argue this in court. So you should probably get the advice of a lawyer as well before you make the decision not to close tomorrow because you're saying they didn't fix the security alarm system. Okay? That's a big decision for them to say, I don't want to close. They're supposed to have this whole security system up and running and fixed that wasn't working, and it's not. And they said they're going to do that on Form 35R, and they didn't do it, so I'm not going to close because they broke contract. Well, guess what? In a court of law, your buyer might have just breached contract, not the seller for not closing because the security system wasn't fixed. Because a judge might look at that case and go, you know, having that security alarm fixed really isn't detrimental to this house. And we're judging that you really shouldn't, you can't delay closing on some minor thing like that. And suddenly now your buyer's in breach, they're suing the guy for the earnest money and just found out they're not getting the earnest money, and now they have to pay lawyers. Now they're going to come back to you because you told them, oh yeah, go ahead, we're not going to close, you're going to get all your earnest money back, we have all this. You should have said what I just said in that email. To the best of my knowledge, I think you'll get your earnest money back, but the judge might rule differently. You really need to get a lawyer's advice on this because this is a very important decision and you need to talk to one on the phone really quick before you make a final decision on this because I'm not a lawyer. I always say to the best of your knowledge because then you're saying, I'm not the expert, I only know what I know. And get the advice of a lawyer saying I'm not a lawyer. Remember those. Those protect you.
And I 200% agree with everything because he saved me on
Yeah.
buyers and we did that. You know,
Yeah, because in the end, your clients are making the decisions, not you, but your clients are making decisions relying on your advice. So remember, you know, advise correctly. Next question. Did I answer your question though?
You did.
Okay.
So, yeah. So.
Okay, what's the next question?
This is an interesting. What are your roles and responsibilities?
Oh, you have both buyers? Oh, yay. You weren't at the meeting last week because I actually talked about this at the team meeting last week. Okay, you're right, and this is very likely to happen right now because a lot of people have a lot of buyers juggling, and they're looking at the same areas. And now you have two buyers. You showed the same house, and they both want to write an offer. First of all, you do not write an offer for two buyers on the same house because you just broke rules of who are you representing. You need to disclose to both that, okay, well, this is an unusual situation. I have another buyer who wants to look at it. They saw it first, so I have to write the offer for them. But I have this agent in my office who I've already called and talked to, and he's ready to sit down and talk with you to write up the offer. And the only reason I'm doing this is because you don't want me to know what you want to offer and they want to offer because I don't want to be put in a position where it looks like I favored one and wrote a better offer knowing what this other offer wrote. See what I'm saying? That's why you got to give it away. You cannot write for two different buyers for the same place. So you're setting yourself up for a lawsuit. Okay, the question was, do you get a referral fee if you give it away to your client? Absolutely. I'm going to find an agent I like in the office. I'm going to say, hey, I have my client, but I have another client. I'm writing an offer for them. I don't know anything about what my client's going to want to write on this, but you need to write it up. Oh, by the way, since I've been showing I did all this work and all you're going to do is write up an offer and send it in, I am going to take a very high referral fee of like 75% or 80% or 90%. Are you okay with that? Getting 10% of the deal just for the spending a little time writing an offer and negotiating if it happens. No? Fine, I'll find another agent. But don't refer an agent that's brand new. Sorry, brand new. If they're working with you and you're an experienced agent, you want to find them a like kind agent who has the same experience. And then you tell the agent too, and if this deal falls apart, they're still my client, not yours. And if my client after this says, well, we kind of like working with you more, and it kind of put us in a bad taste that Eric went with them and not with us, so we think we're going to dump Eric. Fine. Well, I've already told you also, if that's the case, I just hand fed you something. I've worked long and hard on this. I'm not going to get a 25% referral fee. I'm going to take 50% referral fee. So, are we all clear on all those counts? Great. Now, here's my client. Call him. Yeah.
Would you create
Yes, I would create two referral fees. One saying, I get paid this if, and then put in there where it says the other information, if this contract goes through on this property. And then make another one, I'm getting a 50% referral fee for these people. No, you get to no, there is no script. There is no script of who you're going to represent in this. It's your choice which one you want to take. You got to decide how you're going to tell the other one. You're going to let them go to another agent. It's a really hard place to be in and come out of it and make sure your other buyer's happy. I mean, I've had situations where I've always shown buyers the same house, and I'm sweating bullets because I'm like, please don't both of you like this. Please, please, only one like this. Only one like this. So I've been lucky. It's never happened to me. It's usually one likes, the other doesn't, or they both hate it. But it could happen in this market because you get backed up with buyers that you would have had in a contract already 2 months ago, but they're still looking while you're bringing on new people, and they're all saying, we want to live in the same neighborhood, and we want to spend the same amount of money, and we want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Well, you're going to sit there and go, oh, great. How am I going to work this? Okay? Yeah, Jasmine.
Is it common to
Write a letter to seller.
with pictures?
Never ever put a picture of your client, their dog, or anything in a letter to a seller. That is clear violation of fair housing laws. Not to say you'll get in trouble. I don't know. Is the seller going to turn you in? I don't know. But that's technically fair housing laws are just like agent marketing remarks. You can't say anything that differentiates your people as a certain type of religion, familiar status. I mean, you can't even say you have 3 kids and you want to move there to raise your kids, technically. Okay? But our agents all writing letters and saying that. We love the house. We're going to raise our kids there, blah, blah, blah. These letters are clear violation of fair housing. Because it could be misconstrued that they picked you because of this over them because they don't have kids. And they're not going to raise kids there. So, according to fair housing law and all that, I'm supposed to tell you never write a letter. But on the flip side, everybody's writing a letter. And it works. Because sellers will like your buyer if they have an emotional connection. If it's a builder, don't even write a letter. They don't give it. They don't care one thing or other about your people. It's all about down to money. I always tell my buyers to write a letter. I'm breaking the rule, and I'm your broker. But you know what? I will never, ever put a photo in the letter of my clients, their children, or their dogs. And what I tell them is, my only advice on the letter is I say, you want to write a letter to the seller to make them feel more like a connection to you. I would say things like, we really love your home. and how you've cared for it through all these years. We can see all the love that's gone into it. And we want to let you know that that's what we want to do. We see ourselves living here many, many years from now and having experiences like you did, and we will take care of this house as good as you did. We want you to know how much we love it. Did I break any rules there? I did not say my family size or anything, but are your clients going to say it like that? No. They're going to say, we love everything about your house. We're looking forward to living here for the next 20 years minimum because we're going to have our children. We already have one. We have one on the way. We plan to put them through all the school systems. And you're writing this to a husband and wife that are downsizing because all their children have left. And now the wife is getting very emotionally attached to you because she's thinking, oh my God, honey, they're going to live and enjoy this house just like we did with our kids. This is who I want in my house. And people are doing that. Well, the question is, who's going to turn you in? The seller who just sold you the house? Probably not. Would another agent turn you in if they saw the offers? Maybe. They might be pissed. They may just not like you. And they're just looking at anything to bring you down because they lose out to you all the time on listing agreements or listing presentations. They just want it. They're watching you, making sure you're not pre-marketing, whatever. Or you did a deal with them once and you beat them up, or you were rude and now they don't like you and they see this letter. They might. But the chance of them seeing the letter? Probably not. But it's a very high likely that they'll see it because if you put a PDF with the first thing in the PDF, the letter, here's their whole offer. Now they use your offer to escalate the one they went with, and now they're going to send that whole offer to the other agent as proof. This is how it is. Now that agent sees everything because you attached in the same PDF. Agents are lazy. They're not going to take your letter out. They're just like, here's the other offer. Now the agent sees you have a letter, has photos of your clients and all, and they don't like you because you've won out on many offers, or one time you were the listing agent and they felt you were really rude to them or treated them poorly because you wouldn't answer questions. They might turn you in just to like mess with you. Will it go anywhere? We don't know, but it could. So maybe if you're going to write a letter to the seller, maybe you don't put it in the same PDF as the offer. You put them as separate attachments. Yes.
How come the
Buyers to meet the seller.
yeah.
It's the Wild West out there. I don't recommend buyers ever meeting sellers, sellers ever meeting buyers. It just complicates things. Your seller might spill lots of things you would never want the buyer to know before they write an offer. Okay? Because anything that seller says to you, trust me, we can use. You know, me as a buyer's agent, true story, 2 weekends ago, last weekend, not this past, but 2 weekends ago, we wrote a contingent offer on a condo last Wednesday. We went to show the condo. Well, when we're opening the key box, this guy goes, "Oh, you're going to show my condo? I was just up there grabbing mail." "Yeah, we are. By the way, these are my clients." And then they started chatting, and I go, "Hey, do you guys mind spending a little time with us and go up to the condo with us? Because they have a couple questions, and it'd be just so much easier if you were there and you can just answer them for them." "Sure, we're happy to." "Great, come on up." Sellers will spill a lot of information you may not know. Did I break any rules? No. I just said if you want. Did we ask them lots of things while we're up there? Yeah. I said, so when did you remodel this? How's this? Oh, when was this all redone? You know, we're just asking generic questions, but they were telling us lots of details. More than details that I'd ever get if I talked to the listing agent, because they just reply back, yeah, they did remodel it this year. I mean, this time they didn't give me any information that was detrimental, but you know why I was doing this? Because I knew this had sat 25 days and we had to write this as a contingent offer. I wanted that seller to love my clients, and I had an opportunity for them to get to know my client. And we wrote a letter, and it was contingent, and it's a very tight schedule for us to sell. Guess what the agent said when she sent it back? Completely signed mutual, our entire contingent offer in a market where you hardly ever get it. She said they loved your client so much they could tell how much they loved their condo when they met and showed them around, and it really made them really want them to have it. So I used that in a moment to my advantage. Don't assume an agent's doing anything to benefit you. They're doing everything to benefit their client. Why? Because all our job is to represent our client to best circumstances to get them what they need with the best deal. Okay? Yes.
Question, this is
Uh-huh.
previously on the optional 22D,
Mm-hmm.
you would sometimes when you
Okay, get to know the new forms. The question was old forms with new forms of still being able to check other on 22D page 2 and write in things. Well, that's still there. You can write in things. But
is there a better
if there's a form that, to do what you're about to write in other, better use the form because that form is written by a lawyer to protect you. Get to know the forms that are there. Because if you start writing up like all this stuff in other, and then things go bad and there was an actual form you could have used, you just practice law and they could bust you on it. If you're going to write anything on a Form 34 or check another box and start writing things, you better be very clear and very simple. The chandelier will stay with the house, period. That's very clear. I mean, we used to write on Form 34, let's move closing to on or before this date. Guess what? They have a form now that says buyer seller agreed to move closing to this date. You're supposed to start using that brand new form and not write that on Form 34 anymore. If you're going to write anything in a contract, be very careful what you write. And if what you're writing is longer than one sentence, 2 sentence maximum, then you better be sitting back thinking about hiring a lawyer to write that. Because you will be practicing law and you're not allowed. You're only allowed to fill in forms. And trust me, I've had agents call me and they'll go, okay, here's the situation. We want to write it up. We will escalate to this. But then after that, we're willing to do this only if they do this. And then we also want them to remove this, but in turn, we want them to guarantee that they're going to patch this wall, but also bring in all this new paint and paint this wall. I mean, it's this long thing. And they're like saying, well, Eric, how can you help me write that? I'm like, no, I'm not gonna, I couldn't even follow what you just told me. It was so complicated. No, you need to tell your clients that they're gonna have to hire a lawyer to add that in because that's too complicated a situation. I have a deal right now. We're hiring a lawyer to write out because it's a situation that would never be, we have no forms for. And it's two buyers and sellers who just want to do this weird odd deal. So we're like, okay, we'll do this weird odd deal, but a lawyer's going to write the whole contract and you can sign. Because I can't. I could never even begin to write that on a Form 34. So if you're having to write a lot of language, call me. We might have some language for you. I do look at contracts. Greg does. Some brokerages will write certain language that their lawyers will approve that's sort of the generic that we can all use. But if we don't, you're going to have to get a lawyer, or your clients needs to pay for a lawyer, not you. Don't pay the lawyer. This falls on the client. We have a lawyer for the company. The company lawyer represents the company. They do not represent you. I have requests in that certain forms or things, situations comes up that can he give us clear language. It's on his list of lists to do, but trust me, Ben Kinney has him so busy. He's like, Eric, I don't even know when I'll have the time to do this. And I'm thinking, can you do that like in 5 minutes? You're a lawyer. But no, they can't. They have to research it. But that's why if I see something another company's doing, I'll like keep it on my computer for you guys if I have it. But a lot of these new forms addresses some of those things. You know, one of the new forms that addresses is people were writing in language. My buyer is willing to pay up to an additional amount of money if the appraisal is this low. But the difference between that and the new price, the seller has to guarantee that they'll drop to that price or we can walk away. I had agents writing all this all the time. I was like, you know, that has so many holes for a lawyer to rip apart. But they closed. Everything went fine. There's an actual form now that says buyer agrees to pay up to this amount of money on top of their down payment if the appraisal comes in low. And if that makes up the difference, we'll close. If it doesn't make up the difference, seller has the option to drop the price or negotiate with the buyer to another division in there or give them back their earnest money. The form exists now. That form came together because agents were calling the MLS saying, do you have a form to address this?
What's the phone number?
I think it's, no, it's AD, I think. Additional down payment, 22 AD. Yeah. Any other questions?
Is it the limit?
No.
Or is it
No. 22 AD is additional down payment if appraisal comes in low. Yeah. 22 AA is all about the appraisal. Okay. Any other questions right now? Come on. You got 15 minutes. Wild card. You can ask anything. Yes. He got his hand up first. Yes.
I have a question. So, I'm working with a buyer.
Yeah.
He's buying his home, but unfortunately, he wants the
He wants you to split the commission.
yes.
Uh-huh.
So I let him take 1.5.
And you give him 1/2 back.
Right. What is the form I buyer, the seller, excuse me?
Well, okay. You want to know it's pre-construction,
Yes.
so it's being built.
Yes.
And your buyer says, I want you to give me 1/2 of your commission at closing.
Right.
So you're only going to get paid 1.5 instead of 3%.
Right.
My first question is, why did you do that? Why did you just give up your commission?
Well, it was a friend of mine.
Okay.
It was the kind of issue was kind of he already knew where he was listing, so I really didn't do a whole lot.
Okay.
You know,
All right.
any of the technicalities I can handle, but
Right.
for the most part, he already got the house picked.
Okay. I mean, if you want to negotiate on your commission, you guys, you can. But I'm always going to say, why'd you just give it away if they didn't ask? A lot of times agents give it away and the client didn't even ask.
No, he definitely asked.
Yeah.
That was kind of the contingent upon.
Yeah.
You know, you want to follow along with me, and
Mm-hmm. If a buyer asks me, will you give up half your commission, and I've been showing them the last 3 months houses, and I've already written up 4 offers, and now we're in the 5th one, and they're saying the only way this is going to work is you give up half the commission, I'll say no. And I'll look at them and I'll go, you know, I'm an expert just like lawyers out there. I'm very experienced, and I have worked really hard for this commission. And you need to realize you're not paying it, the seller is. It's just no matter what price we negotiate on, I get a commission paid out of that. Oh, well, but then it's to your advantage to make it be a higher price. No, it's not. Because if I went around as an agent who made it the highest price possible for a seller, do you think I'd have all these testimonials out on Zillow and Yelp and on my website of people saying what a great job I did negotiating? Of course I wouldn't. I wouldn't get referrals. So of course I wouldn't do that. Great, but I still want less. Great. What do you want then? Do you want to go to Walmart or you want to shop at Nordstrom where you get 5-star customer service? Because that's what I am all about. And honestly, I have only so much time in a day. So I'm committing to you to work this and get you in a home. But I have a lot of people and I only can work with so many. It doesn't make sense if I'm going to take half my commission. Because you got to realize in that 3%, 1/3 I'm giving to my broker. 1/3 is going to taxes. So I have to feed my family. And it's not worth me for all the hours and stuff that I'm doing that's what you're going to pay me. Well, Redfin does it. Yeah, they do. But you're not going to get an agent with my experience. What you're going to get is one of the agents who quit the brokerage, said they weren't making enough money and they need a salary, so they went and got hired on at Redfin. Because Redfin wants agents who will work on salary. So, do you want a brand new agent who couldn't make it as an agent, couldn't even find a client, now out there negotiating on your behalf? Or do you want to work with an agent who right here with you, right now in this room, just negotiated half their commission away? How are they going to be out there negotiating on your home? They just gave away what their livelihood just because you asked. Rather than worrying about my commission, you should be worrying about what am I going to do to save you money to make my commission worth it. It's a lot more important I'm out there to get you in a house with the best deal possible than worrying about this 1.5%. I will earn it.
Full-time agent and you still have would you have to work your
Yeah,
you
no,
not gonna work for them.
no, you won't. But you can go to Redfin. Oh, by the way, do you know Redfin? When you need that market analysis to determine if it's even a fair price, they won't do it because they can't. Because the one person who's writing up offers is so backlogged and has so many offers they have to write, they don't have time in the week to be writing up 100 CMAs. They don't. So they don't. They look at the client and just go, what price do you want to offer? We'll write it up. So you're having to fall on your expertise to look at that neighborhood, look at the statistics, look at the history, and decide if you think that's a fair price. And if you think you're going to price it fairly off of what Zillow is, you made a big mistake because Zillow says right on it, their estimates are not accurate. That's why they give you a huge range. Zillow can't be accurate in our neighborhoods because in one neighborhood, you might have 6 different decades of homes. You might have a completely knocked down new construction, 2.5 million. Down the street is a tear down, 600,000. You know, their algorithms can't match everything. They don't know who has a view. They don't know who has the brand new kitchen. They don't know that the street this is on is $1 Million Row and one street over is not. Because there's a dividing line of school districts. Zillow can't do that. So if you want to go work for Redfin who doesn't research all that, go ahead. But I'm not going to cut my commission. That's what I'm bringing to the table. So you have to decide what's the value of your money. But I'm thinking this is the biggest decision you probably make. It is for me when I purchase property. There's a lot of money you're about to invest. Don't you want an expert there? Or do you want someone new in the business who's just going to tell you, yeah, we'll do whatever you want? Because if that's what you want, then I recommend you go hire them. Because I work with clients who know what I do, and that's what I do. You know? Think about that next time you give away 1.5% of your commission.
Oh, no, I agree. Like,
Yeah, but when it's a friend, and I get it,
yeah.
you know, and not to say I haven't done it.
You already have the house.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, and I've had friends do that too. They'll say, Eric, here's everything, here's how it is. Can you just write it up really fast? And then I'm like, yeah, sure. And I understand being a friend, but I'm just trying to tell you all this because you're going to get this question all the time from buyers. And so you got to learn how to have a response, folks. Because they're all looking at Redfin, they're going to throw it at you.
So,
Yeah.
in this situation, how would I go about the seller know or
You would just write it up and just put an addendum in it and just say selling agent to contribute 1.5% of the purchase price towards buyer's closing costs. But then you better call the lender and ask them and say, here's how much I would want to give my buyer. Can I do that? Because you need to know how much the lender allows to be given to a buyer towards closing costs. Because if your commission is $12,000, but they say we can only use $10,000, that means only $10,000 at closing can be given to the buyer towards closing costs, period. You can't give them 12, then you can only give them 10. Lender has to approve what you give a buyer, not escrow. Escrow? Well, escrow is going to read your contracts, okay? Escrow will always send you the day before or the morning of closing, but usually the day before, Here's a copy of the final closing statement. Please verify you're okay with it. As an agent, you know what you should be looking at? Our closing costs in here. Is my buyer getting the closing costs? If you're representing the buyer, you better make sure. Because escrow can make mistakes and they may not have the closing costs in because they didn't notice your 35R coming in later that said, oh, they're going to add another 5,000 to closing costs. They just saw the original 3,000, so they didn't do 8. So you got to check that, make sure that's correct, and then you better look at make sure your commission's correct because that can be a mistake too. Because they might base commission off a different sales price and not know you negotiated later off an inspection that the sales price is going to drop or you're going to raise the sale price or something. So that's your responsibility. Check those two things. You get that. I really don't worry about the rest because the lender's checking the rest and your client's checking it. So you would catch it there. Okay? Did I answer your question over there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. They might say when you send over the 34 that you're giving up this. So you first verify with the lender that you can give them that much. And now you're writing it. The listing agent will probably say, we need an official letter from your broker saying that you're okay, that you're not going to get that part of the commission. Sometimes they'll do that. So you just let me know who we email, and I just say MLS, blah, 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 agent so-and-so, we're okay with the 1.5% commission. Okay? You guys can set your commission. All right? Just want to let you know. But be aware, if you do a family deal, I think it's one a year we allow. I'm not sure. This is a Larissa question, and you're saying I just don't want to get any commission. They will still charge you transaction fees. The whole idea is like, no, we're not going to take money for your cap, but we still have to charge you the transaction fee for processing, paying for the staff. And I don't know what amount that is.
It's 4,500.
500?
4,500. For the transaction amount.
Yeah.
For every 4,500, you.
Oh, okay. He knows more than I do. That's why he's tech and I'm not.
I think 1/4 of your commission.
Okay, one last question, anybody? No? We're all good? You're all going to go write contracts and get buyers at open houses this weekend? Or get a listing is even better. You can get those off open houses. Learn your open houses. That's your best resource for lead gen as a brand new agent. Learn how to close the deal with them. Okay? All right. Next week, I don't know where I am. I know I'm in Seattle. Every other week I do contracts. It's from 1:30 to 3. Every other week is here, which is easy for you guys. But if you want to go the weeks between in Seattle, you're very welcome. Let's see, I think I had it in my calendar because over there we alternate that every other week there between downtown Seattle office and the West Seattle office. I think we're setting up to do it remotely down there as well. I have to ask, I'm going to talk to Robbie about that afterwards.
Yeah, it's really simple.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll talk to y'all later. See you Thursday. Yeah. Yeah, and if you're waiving financing and appraisal, then you don't put 22A. No, this is saying right here that you're waiving the financing portion, but it says here, paragraph 7, appraisal, it survives. You're not waiving that section.
So then what?
You don't write anything anymore. You've got everything you want on forms now to do all that.
So I just don't put in the same form, or I don't put an
Just don't put, this is only you took out 22A, but you're putting this in to say No, what it is, hi, what it is you put 22A in the contract, right? Then you put this into the contract. You don't cross anything out of 22A. This is just saying we have just waived the financing portion of 22A, but we're keeping page 2 appraisal in. But you still put 22A in with them.
Sounds good. And if I'm doing both,
Then don't put 22A in now.
because in the past,
Mhm.
so much.
Yeah.
And now we have that.
They have lots of forms around 22A responses now. Oh, cool. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So go in and look at the red line. Go open your MLS. Open. Go to your page for the MLS. Scroll to the top. Go to. Okay. Scroll down. Open that 209. Now hit sample forms. Now here's all the forms that they changed, and here's all the forms that are brand new. So you can go form by form by form. If it says new form, you open it up and you just read the new form. If it says red line, click red line, that means this form was already